should be live. Just so you know as well, this will be kind of recorded and then made accessible to the students after. So just bear that in mind with sort of anything that we go through.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's no trouble. Are we okay to have a copy? Is that all right? Just to...
Yeah, absolutely. I can send that over to you. I'm sure our marketing team will send that over as well.
Cheers. I mean, I've had this presentation so many times. It's always good just to get it as a copy.
Absolutely. No, that's fine. Awesome. I'm seeing people already starting to join, which means it's working, which is really good.
Always good.
Thank you guys for joining on time. Much appreciated. We'll give it a couple of minutes, then I'll go through the introduction and then I'll let James do his thing. For those of you that I hear already, thank you for joining. We will have the option to put in chat any questions you have for James, and then we'll go through a sort of Q&A section at the end. But we'll also be regularly popping a link into chat, which takes you to a Google form, which allows you to enter a question. And then that way we can kind of go through that list as well. Either way will work. What I will say is if it's on the form, we're more likely to kind of get through it. So just keep an eye out for that link as we go through the talk. But that is 2 o'clock, so I will make a start just to make sure we have enough time to kind of get through everything, and it's really exciting, so let us crack on. So hello, everyone that has joined and those yet to join. Welcome to Confetti's Industry Week. Welcome to your session with James Hall, who'll be talking to you about his work with his digital agency company, Hex Productions. Please use the chat function and the link provided by Jamal throughout to ask any questions that you have towards James, and we'll aim to answer them as soon as we can, or as many as we can after the presentation. We hope that you enjoyed today's session, and a massive thank you to James, who's taken the time out to do this for Industry Week. And you came along last year as well, so it's almost becoming quite a regular thing, which is really awesome to see. Thank you so much. And celebrating our 16th year of doing Industry Week, which is madness, and it's really good. Don't forget that you can still book on to upcoming events by going to iw.confetti.ac.uk, and make sure you sign up using your Confetti or NTU email address and details. You can also check out last year's Industry Week stuff, especially useful for those first year guys. All the talks and masterclasses are available there via the on-demand function of the website. As a part of Industry Week, we're running a competition where you can win some cool prizes. All you have to do is tag Confetti on Twitter or Instagram using the hashtag IW22, sharing your experiences throughout the week. So it could be screenshots of other talks that you've been to. It could be anything that you got inspired to do because of this chat with James. It could be absolutely anything. And you've got a chance of winning some cool prizes there. Lastly, mainly for the second years, if you're currently in your final year of your undergraduate course, it's worth noting that the NTU employability team are offering extra careers coaching appointments next week to help you get ready for your next steps after this course. Look on the Employability Learning Room for more information about that. And now I will introduce you to James, who I'm sure will have an amazing presentation for you guys to enjoy for the next sort of 45 minutes or so.
Superb. Thank you very much. So yeah, my name's James. Nice to meet you. I hope you're having a fantastic Industry Week, and also, happy International Women's Day today. It's a day full of amazing stuff that's coming out at the moment. So I'm here today to talk to you about accessibility, and really digital accessibility. There are so many barriers that are currently in place for people. We want to try and break these barriers down and make sure that we can make as many digital services available to as many people as possible. Now, obviously, sometimes that means we can go a little bit too far. We kind of have the phrase of chucking spaghetti on a wall. We're trying to see what can stick and make sure that everything can happen. At the moment on the screen is a video of Sarah Gatford's using British Sign Language to introduce myself to the presentation. Now, this is only accessible for people that know British Sign Language. There's no audio here apart from myself talking. There's no subtitles. So we have to think about anything that we do. We need to make sure it is available for as many people as possible. And this is why we now have the next slide. So this is going to be talking about how a little bit of accessibility can go a long way. And this can really work in any walks of life. This can work in any project, in any areas that we're trying to work on. Just making these small changes can make a lot of differences to a lot of people's life. So, as I said, my name is James. I'm the creative director at Hex Productions. We are a digital agency based in Nottingham. So we deal with websites, branding, any type of digital service whatsoever. I'm also one of the co-organisers of the Accessibility Nottingham meetup that we used to have within Nottingham, obviously. We are trying to get these back up and running, but this has been a lovely network where people have been getting together, talking about their digital accessibility barriers, and actually trying to kind of give people their experience about how their daily life works. It really is an interesting project to actually try and find out how we can all make life a lot easier for people. And within the digital accessibility sphere, we've noticed one key thing, and that is it's not just one person's responsibility to make something accessible. It's not just one team's responsibility to make something accessible. It is a whole organization area to make this accessible, from having that initial meeting with your client all the way to actually marketing, actually saying how wonderful that the service or product or design that you did has been made live. It's important to have as many people in this as possible. Weave this into your day-to-day life, and this will make things more easier and kind of more easier to flow throughout. A very good example kind of today of making sure that things isn't working. I was just having a walk over kind of just round my local supermarket, but there's normally a drop curb, and the people that are clearly working on the roadworks at the time really didn't care about this and just parked straight over this. So they've not gone through the whole planning idea and where things have gone. They've not gone to the situational area. We've created a barrier straight away just because that is where we had to park. It's not been a whole project thought out process. So it is everyone that we need to think about. And from for years and years and years, we have had laws, we have had rulings, we have had guidelines to actually state that everything has to be accessible from a physical aspect. So you have this wonderful building out there, you have so many different areas that you can be able to access. But what has been important is you have to have ramps, you have to have buttons at a certain level for lifts, you have to have easy access, abilities to speak to as many people as possible, communicate with as many people as possible. But we're finding that the digital side of things has been forgotten. Thankfully, this is becoming more and more prevalent throughout everyone. More and more people are trying their hardest to make things accessible. But if things have been from a physical accessibility thought about as much as digital, then we are starting to move a lot more forward within this. So the example of the drop curb, if we weren't able to cross the road, we wouldn't have been able to actually get from A to B. We may have a wheelchair that would rely on that drop curb. Now, I think places like the Confetti building will have that, but some places and some buildings using old regulations won't be able to. Very much the same when it comes to digital services. They are not looking at these things, and they're not looking at how things can be moved forward. And the beautiful thing about accessibility is it is flipping awesome. It's there for everyone. It is not just giving you the ability to have more people accessing your website. It's bringing in other aspects of actually making it easier to use. So usability is being brought into this as well. If you are pushing for more people to come onto your sites or your digital services, search engine optimization is going to be brought into your site as soon as you have an accessible service. At the end of the day, Google is a screen reader. So if Google can understand your content, therefore a screen reader or a tool that a blind user would use to read out the website would have that read out to them as well. So making sure that we do everything that we can will help things from an accessibility, usability, and search engine optimization process all in one go straight away. And obviously, like I say, it's not just one area. Your design, your animation, your video, your website, your app, your digital service, everything is there and everything should be available for everyone. We should not be putting barriers in place for anyone whatsoever. So I've spoken a little bit about digital and how things are moving forward. And obviously, from a digital perspective, we're going to be looking at animation, video, and any type of moving area. Obviously, we all know of Disney. We all know that Frozen was around a few years ago. But what Disney started to look at is they started to want to market what they're doing to a wider audience. We'll be talking about statistics further down the line, but the more people that we can get into a cinema to actually enjoy what we're doing, the more people that are going to be wanting to come back and having a repeat customer and actually knowing that they're taking accessibility seriously. So what Disney did is they provided a method of making the video that you could possibly see on the screen right now more interesting, more enjoyable for everyone. So they created videos that had subtitles on there. They created trailers that had British Sign Language on there as well. But what was really important is they created a version that allowed audio descriptions of what is going on the screen right now. So if you closed your eyes right now, all you would hear, sadly, is myself talking to you. But you'd want to be knowing what's going on within the screen right now. So if you close your eyes, what we're going to do is we're going to play the same clip again, but with an audio description.
From the creators of Tangled and Wreck-It Ralph, Disney. A carrot-nosed, coal-eyed snowman shuffles up to a purple flower peeping out of deep snow.
Ooh, hello.
He takes a deep sniff. His nose lands on a frozen pond. A reindeer looks up and pants like a dog. Seeing the reindeer slip on the ice, the snowman smiles and moves towards him, though actually he's running on the spot. The reindeer falls on his chin. The snowman uses his arm as a crutch. The reindeer paddles his front legs. Head over heels, the snowman crawls along the ice. The reindeer does the breaststroke. The snowman rolls his body, but flips onto his back. The reindeer's tongue sticks to the ice. The snowman held his head. Twig arm and reindeer lips tug at the carrot. The carrot flies off and lands in soft snow. The reindeer goes after it with snowman and his body parts hanging on his tail. The snowman puts himself back together again and glumly contemplates his noseless state. The reindeer jams the carrot back in place and pants like a proud puppy. The snowman pats him with his stick-thin arm, then goes to sneeze. He grabs his nose with both hands. His head shoots off. Frozen, coming this winter in 3.
So Disney were fantastic in doing this. They produced a range of different trailers and distributed this all out. And as soon as people were more engaged with what Disney were doing, then they saw that the passion and the energy that they were putting into making this accessible for everyone. This brought obviously more people into the cinema, and therefore knowing that they are producing accessible content, they are going to be going back to Disney all the time because they know that they're taking this seriously. Whereas some film companies may not believe in this and they may not do that. So they would just forget about their films automatically and just go straight to this. Other things to think about when it comes to films is there's been quiet films such as The Artist and more recently A Quiet Place. Now, these are silent films. So how would a person that is blind or a person that may not be able to see the screen, how would they know what is going on? Having an audio description of everything that's going on within the film is remarkable and really fantastic to see. Moving on, I'm going to show you one more video clip, and this is done by the broadcaster, Channel 4. Channel 4 are superb because they broadcast the Paralympic Games and obviously what's going on right now, the Paralympic Winter Games. And what they do is they provide not only brilliant coverage, but they have the mentality and the methodology of actually bringing as many people with a disability together and getting this to work as possible. So the current Paralympic Winter Games, 100% of the talent that is on in front of the camera is disabled, and they are able to talk about their disability and actually celebrate disability with everyone. And they are also working extremely hard on making sure that it's 100% behind the screen as well. So they're working fantastically on doing this. And what they've also done is they've proven that accessibility doesn't have to just be black and white on a page. It doesn't have to just be large text. It's just about providing choice. And again, this is a video. It's going to have subtitles along the bottom and also have a cast of 100% disabled users on there. A brilliant film to watch.
Yes, I can, suddenly, yes, I can. Gee, I'm afraid to go on has turned into, yes, I can. Take a look, what do you see? 133 pounds of confidence, me. Got the feeling I can do anything, yes, I can. Something that sings in my blood is telling me, yes, I can. I was just born today, I can go all the way, yes, I can. 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 Hey, yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can!
Are you ready? I can climb Everest. Yes, I can. I can fight here all night and never rest. Yes, I can. I was just born today. I can go all the way. Yes, I can.
So we love this video. We find it really engaging. We find it have a really positive message, and finding that we shouldn't have barriers. You know, there are so many things that we can do. It's superb. It doesn't have to be plain black and white and boring websites or boring video. We've been able to incorporate British Sign Language, subtitles and video audio there straight away. Obviously, there'll be other ways that you can do it, but it just really is a fantastic way and a really positive message of moving that forward. So why do we do this? And the reason why we do this is because 1 in 5 in the world will have a disability. Yes, this is an overarching statistic that will have certain numbers elsewhere, but as a rough number, 1 in 5 of us will have a disability. So numbers are good. Numbers give you a good base point to work on, but we're not in this for the numbers. What we're actually doing this for are the people that will be using our services, the people that will be going on our websites, the people that we're designing for. This is why we're doing this. So on the screen right now, there are 5 people within a single family. So if we use the previous statistic of 1 in 5 of us will have a disability, then 1 of these people will have a disability. But it's only until we actually really start to understand our users and understand the people that we're creating for, because as soon as we start to understand the people, we'll find that 4 people within this group will require assistive technology day after day. So assistive technology is some systems or a device that will allow content or information to be consumed in a slightly different way. So the 4 people that have assistive technology require glasses day after day. 3 of these people will require it for long distance, so things that require to bring it in a little bit further. Some of these people will require it for short distances, or maybe reading on a book or looking on a computer screen. So we have to understand how we're building our system. You know, how are these people going to be interacting with our information? Are things going to be too close together? Are things blurred? There's lots of things to consider from that point of view. 3 people on this screen have dyslexia. Now, dyslexia has many different severities, many different symptoms, or many different experiences in life. So myself, my mum, my sister do have dyslexia. We're all on different kind of levels, and we're all experiencing things in different ways. Growing up, we didn't have the ability to be diagnosed pretty quickly. I had to go until I was at college or there towards university to get diagnosed with dyslexia. So as soon as that was happening, I was able to use maybe overlays on content. So rather than having just black and white, I was able to have blue on a lightly grey, and that worked better for me. It won't work for everyone. It works for other people. It didn't work for my mother or my sister. So there's lots of different things that we have to think about when it comes to maybe the colors or the layout or how much content we have on the screen. Everyone will use that in a slightly different way. Two people in there have short attention spans, so they can't deal with content straight away. That is me and my sister as well. We have to consume content in a better way for ourselves. I don't want lots of content. I want to have maybe a video, an audio clip, or something like that. My sister will be predominantly on her mobile device, so she needs to make sure that it's all on there and can scroll quite easily to get there. And one person that we always forget about when we talk about accessibility is the elderly. So my nan will have diminished movement, hearing won't be as good as it was when back in the day. And also we have to think about the knowledge transfer. There's lots of things that we have to think about when we do this. So when we're marketing or creating or even thinking the inception of a project, are we considering all of these different people, all of these people in unique situations? Are we thinking about them when we're actually starting to think about the project? Because we have to think about the end goal right at the start. And we also don't have to think about permanent disability. What we also have to think about is temporary accessibility and also situational accessibility. So on the screen right now, we have 6 people going from left to right at the top. We have permanent, temporary, and situational. And then the senses on the left-hand side in touch and in see. So one person that may have one arm throughout their life, we have to also think about the people that may have an arm injury or a leg injury. Are they not able to use the full keyboard straight away? Can they not use their mouse straight away? Are there lots of things that we have to think about to make sure that that temporary area will allow that to be accessible? From a situational area, a new parent, somebody that is just holding a child, or maybe someone that has to hold on to something while they're trying to do their work. This is a situational disability right there. So we have to think about how they're going to be working as well. So don't just think about permanent disability, think about a good broad range. From a seeing perspective, people that are blind, people that may have cataracts from a temporary area, or maybe a distracted driver. Not everyone is going to be concentrating on the screen or concentrating on a certain area all the time. People will become distracted. So we have to think about how that's going to work for people. And then from a hearing and a speaking perspective, from a hearing, we're going to have people that are deaf, people that may have a hearing infection, or someone that may have very blocked up ears right then, or maybe people like a bartender where you've got information being shouted at you straight away. Are you going to be able to actually understand the person that is speaking to you or trying to give you instructions or directions? From a speaking perspective, we have to think about the non-verbal people. Also people that may have a sore throat, laryngitis, or people that may have a heavy accent. There are times where we use assistive technology to use our voice to control the screen. Now, if we're finding that a heavy accent isn't working, then we need to try and adjust this, as well as, especially when we're trying to help people either on the phone or face-to-face. Lots of things that we have to think about. So don't just think about permanent disability. Think about how we need to be accessible for people with temporary or situational environments as well. But if we do think about it from a number perspective, we have 66.5 million people in the UK. So if that is the case, 13.3 million people will have a disability. Now that's just using the 1 in 5 statistic within this. But what we can do is we can look at other ways of doing this. So I've just noticed that, I'm really sorry, Elizabeth, I've seen that you're struggling with subtitles. If you give me 1 second, I'm going to see if I can turn the subtitles on to my presentation to see if that can be displayed in there as well. So do give me 1 second, I will give my try. So do bear with me 1 second, everyone.
Hi guys, apologies about this. It is something we are trying to fix as soon as we can. Technical difficulties online, as always. Just bear with us.
Okay, Elizabeth, is that okay for you now? Fantastic. Very sorry about that. Please get in touch with us afterwards. I'm more than happy to do another recording for you to make sure that everything is available so you've not missed out on anything like that as well. So I do apologize. So what I'll do is I'll just go back to a couple of slides and then you'll be able to just read what I've just been going through on there for you as well. So just to reiterate, we have 66.5 million people in the UK. So if we use the 1 in 5 statistic, roughly 13.3 million people will have a disability in the UK. So that is people that may have a barrier to the digital services that you are providing. So we have to think about how we're going to be breaking those barriers down. If you want to think this from a business perspective, and I never like mixing money with accessibility, but we have to think about people will be wanting to spend money with your services. So we really enjoy an orange-based budget airline because they produce statistics. And a few years ago, obviously before everything that's happened, they produced the statistic that 450,000 people in the UK flew with them that had a disclosed disability. If we take the average airfare of £90 per ticket, this airline could be losing out on £40.5 million a year. Now, the more you think about that statistic, that's actually going to be more, because it's not always going to be just that one person that is going to be flying with that airline. It will be either a family or a friend or a colleague that will be flying with them as well. So you could pretty much double that statistic if that's going to be the case. If that airline did not cater for people with a disability, that person that has the disability would go to another airline, find another method to go from A to B, because they're going to be using a provider, anyone that is actually willing to give them the time and giving them the effort to actually get from A to B for them. Think about this from a Nottingham perspective. You go down the shops, most days you'll be going to one shop because either something's a little bit cheaper or something's easy to get to. If you have a shop or an online shop that is more accessible for people, they are going to be returning. It's known as the purple pound, the amount of money that a disabled person will be spending in your shop or your store. This is very important because the more people that, again, will be coming through your doors, the more return custom, the more marketing they'll be doing from word of mouth, and the more good information that will be presented out throughout the whole of this. Now, from a digital perspective, we have to adhere to some guidelines. So we have WCAG 2.1, and that is the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. So we're currently in the 2.1 phase. It will be moving to 2.2 and then moving to version 3. It's very important if we are moving to a digital sphere or you're moving into that area, you do start to understand what these are. So to give you an example, if you have an image on a screen, you have to have a text-based alternative there for you as well. This will allow people with either a screen reader or other assistive technology to consume that content without having to visibly see that picture. There's a lot to go in there, and they are guidelines. It's not the way to do it. It's just saying what we're trying to achieve. You know, there's more than one way to do certain things. And this is why we need to use our own skills and hone in on these to actually find out what we can do. And within WCAG, there's methodologies. There's going to be principles within this that we have to do. And we have the PAW principles. So it has to be perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. And what this means is it has to be perceivable. So therefore, it has to be consumed by one sense or more. So can I hear my content being read out to me? Can I see my content on the screen? Is there another method to go around this content and actually get that information for me? Is it operable? Can I use my keyboard? Can I use a screen reader? Can I use any assistive technology to get that content from there? Just because it's on the screen doesn't mean that it is operable to get to. So it needs to be operable. It needs to be there that we can either manipulate or use in a way. It has to be understandable. So if you think about myself with having with dyslexia, can I understand that content on there? Yes, I may have put all the information that I want to have on a block of text, but can I understand it all? Does it need to be broken up? Is it big enough font? Does it have to be bigger? Does it have to be a better use of color? Lots of things to think about. And is it robust? Is it going to break down every single time that somebody uses assistive technology? Is the paper that I'm printing my content on usable? Can I actually see through it, or can I actually have a solid background within there? So you can take these principles everywhere you go and use these 4 ones in accessibility and obviously in usability as well. And this is why we use people like the Shaw Trust. They are a charity based in Neath, and they are a pan-disabled testing team. They are wonderful. They give us so much insight to the disabled world. It's phenomenal. They will always test our websites, our designs, to make sure that we are achieving the goals that we should be achieving. We know that we'll make mistakes, and that's how we learn. And the team within here will help with that. So we'll get many different views. At the bottom right, there are 2 people. They have headphones on, and they are using a screen reader. So they have all of their content read out to them, be it a website, a PDF, a Word document, any type of system that they have in there that will have read out to them. But because they were blind at different times in their life, they will both have different ways that they would like to consume the content. So the only way that myself as a non-blind user can understand this is speaking to them and actually finding out what barriers they have and how we can improve on this, because there's lots of things that we can think about and make sure that we understand. If you ever create personas or imaginary people that we're trying to aim our content or our information at, really have a look back. Do you have at least one disabled person within your persona group, or do you have more? Fantastic if you do, because we have to think about this. We have to have at least one disabled user within our persona group if we're going to be taking accessibility seriously. So how can we improve? There's lots of things that we can do, and I know that there's lots of people on this chat right now that we're witnessing this webinar. So there's lots of things we need to think about. And the reason why I've not just used one group of information within here is because we all need to be aware of everything that's going on in the background. So the next 15 minutes, I'm going to go through all of these. We've got quite a lot of content when it comes to images and content. So do raise any questions that you may have, and we can go through this. As I said at the start, it is vital for us to understand the project as a whole. We all need to be start of the project inception. We need to make sure that we're throughout it and we know about it. So yes, this may come to us within kind of the third part of the project, but do we know the background? What's happened? Who are we aiming this for? What's the user group? Where is this going to be distributed? Lots of things that we need to know as designers, developers, content writers to actually make sure that what we're doing is right. So whenever you get a chance, be part of that first project call. Even if you can just get the notes or the information afterwards, you're part of this. We need to make sure that it's weaved in from the very, very start. From a user experience point of view, we need to start looking at things like wireframing, certain areas that we're going to be looking at. How is everything that we're doing going to start to be laid out? I'm a developer at heart. I'm not a designer, but I need to know how things are going to be put together. The screen at the moment is got 5 boxes across the top and then about 7 boxes underneath that, very small. I'd start to look at that to think, is that going to be a carousel? How is that going to operate? How's that going to move around? How long do I have to do this? Is there a pause function? Where's that button going to be? At the bottom of the screen, I can see that there's some videos within there. What do I need to do to pause that or to load that in? So there's lots of things that we need to do to try and look at how that's going to interact. And that's just by looking at a wireframe. For the designers in the room, there's lots of things that we need to look at when it comes to this. There's lots of things that we need to look at from a usability point of view and how this can flow. Yes, we can still make beautiful designs and beautiful designs that everyone's going to enjoy. But we have to think about, can everyone actually look at this content? Can everyone consume this content one way or another? At the moment, I have a row of dots and I have a number within there as well. So it's orange dots around the edge and a number in green being displayed in the middle. Now, not everyone can see that number in the middle because they will have the red-green color blindness. There are about 21 different color blindness tests to have in there. So, there's lots to consider, but we need to look at a certain color contrast. We should be having at least 4.5 to 1 color contrast ratio between anything that's next to each other. We should not be relying on color alone to differentiate content. So for example, a traffic light system. If we were only to have a red block in the middle, and then maybe someone turns in later and then it turns into a green block and there's no text, people can't distinguish between red and green. So they may not know if that is good or that is bad. We should always be using text-based content as well. To give you an idea, there is a number on the screen that I cannot pronounce, but there is a lot of color combinations in this world. We use in web, we use hex colors, so it'll be an alphanumeric representation of a color, and there's a lot in there. But if we take only 1% of this, then you will still have 141 million color combinations to choose from. So for me, there is no reason that we can't achieve what we want to achieve from a design point of view. Yes, there'll be certain times where we need to compromise and do certain bits, but 141 million color combinations is a phenomenal number. When we look at our typography, how are our fonts working? Is there enough space between there? Are we using the right size of font? Are we using the right color? This works into the same side of things when it comes to our color contrast. Are we using everything that we can do for this? Are we mixing our fonts? We should never be mixing serif with a sans serif font. People do get confused when going down. So people with autism would like to have a consistent approach throughout the whole of the site. People that have dyslexia do not like the script, the handwriting font. I find it very hard to understand them. I do find that words do move around or certain things aren't right in the right place. Because I wear glasses, I'll typically have to put them on as well. Are we using very small font for something that is a very large website? Lots of things to think about when it comes from a font perspective. And then we're looking at infographics. You know, we want to display a lot of data in a very nice way to do this. And there are lots of things to do. But what would happen on the screen? You know, we have a couple of examples on the screen at the moment. There's one where it's kind of got a worm effect with circular dots in the middle. How do we know that the person that's going through this page can actually comprehend that information? Is this information understandable to people? Can I use a screen reader to actually have that read out to me? And if it is, what's reading out? Are we just going to hear certain bits or maybe image of this, which we shouldn't be doing? We should be describing what is on the screen. Even if we think about maybe transcripts and information on there, there's lots of things to look at from that perspective. And then from a development point of view, we need to put all this together. We've been given these amazing designs, this lovely user experience, all these fonts that we can use, but we need to put them into practice and make sure they are readable. Making sure that we are supporting the next phase that's coming into the site, which is going to be all the content that's coming into the page. So we need to make sure it's robust, make sure that it's always working, make sure that screen readers are able to comprehend the information that's being provided to us, because then we can start to move forward and actually start to get some content onto this page. So as soon as we have the structure, we have everything ready, the content team behind the scenes have been working really hard. What we need to start doing is putting this onto our page. And the best way to start on this is to start from a heading structure. We're not just going to be chucking a load of content on a page. We need to make sure that we have a good, solid heading structure. And the best way to think about a heading structure is thinking about a supermarket. Now, we don't just go into any random shop and then hope that we go down the right aisle to find the right chocolate bar that we want. No, what we do is we go to a shop and we see right at the front of that shop is the name of the shop. That's the heading one. You know you're in a shop and you know you're only going to have one heading one. Perfect. I can walk in, I know where I am. I will then look at the top of the store, and typically you will have these drop-down signs and they'll tell you exactly where certain things are. There may be numbers on there may be certain categories, but I'll know roughly that I'll be able to go down a certain aisle and there's going to be biscuits and sweets that I want. Fantastic. So my heading 2, I've been able to go to there and actually see all of these items on this aisle. And then using a heading 3, I'm able to actually go down and actually find biscuits or sweets. So I've been able to break it down. So you're breaking down and grouping your content like this. So your heading structure when doing either a document or a website should be going down sequentially, and you can always jump back up to a heading 2. And it's designed to group your content together. Using a screen reader, a user would have all their headings read out to them. It'll say number 1, Morrison's, number 2, canned vegetables. So it will read it out to them. So a person can navigate to that heading and actually say, right, I want to hear all this information being read out to me. They'd hit enter and have that information read out. So I can miss all the other aisles. I don't need everything straight away. And of course, when we've gone into the supermarket, we've got that information. We need to make sure it's structured. If we've got information all over the floor or just a big block of content, it doesn't work. It doesn't understand it. We can't comprehend it. At the moment on the screen, I've got some Latin text with justified alignment. So that means it's straight on the left and on the right. So there's lots of things we have to think about on there, because there is not just the case that it is flat on both sides. There's different gaps in between the words. So we need to think about how that's working. Everything should be left aligned, keep the spacing identical, and allow people to flow through. Oops. So you can see now on the page, I've broken up my content. I've given bullet points. I've allowed this to be a lot less waffly. It's a lot easier to comprehend and a lot easier to understand on that perspective. And of course, when we're putting information onto a page, we need to make sure that it's nice, vibrant, colorful, but not too much. We need to make sure that people can understand it and it's attractive, it's enjoyable, it's really nice to read. And this is why we use multimedia, images and videos to actually understand. But not everyone can understand what is on the page. Not everyone can view that image. So we have to have alternative text to be read out to us. But we have to think about the context that we're doing. At the moment, there is a picture on the screen with autumnal trees, a building on the right-hand side, a number of boats along the bottom on a nice lake. But what am I actually describing in this image? We have to think about the item itself. Am I advertising boats for sale? Am I advertising that there's kayaking going on? Because I could forget about everything else. So we have to think about how we describe our images and how we describe our content, because that information is going to be read out to us. If you are creating digital media, so maybe PDFs or a certain way of actually bringing out your poster or your information, you have to have alternative text for this as well. You have to have structured content. So I'm not talking about this purely from a web point of view. This is anything that is digital has to be in this format. And this pushes out throughout everything within our social media life. You know, let's be honest, we're all on it. We're all going to have these areas. There's 3.196 billion social media users in the world, a lot. So we have to make sure that the content that we're producing for them is accessible for them as well. So 369 million people, disabled social media users, will be around. So I'm just going to give you a couple of quick tips that hopefully you'll be able to take away from today. You'll be able to start making your social media just that little bit more accessible. So a couple of previous slides, I spoke about making your images more accessible, alternative text within there. You can do this on Twitter. There will be a button at the right-hand side. You're able to go into that. And on the right-hand image, you'll be able to put in a description of the image that you're producing. So anyone that has a screen reader and uses Twitter will be able to actually have that image read out to them. Sadly, we're still having a few issues with GIFs being inserted, so people can pause them and people can play them, but the alternative text doesn't always get read out. So if you have any issues at all, there's plenty of text within that you'll be able to describe what's going on in that image, and more people will then be able to understand what is going on within there. Go back to the first couple of slides when I was showing you the example of Frozen. We had all that information within there and someone describing it. The video of Channel 4, we had subtitles and a person using British Sign Language. Right now, we've got subtitles on the page, but a person that may want to comprehend that image in a slightly different way using assistive technology needs this alternative text to have it read out to them. So now social media is doing it. It's fantastic. You can do this in Facebook just by clicking the button on the right. If you're using certain tools like LinkedIn, you have the ability as well. Bottom left-hand side of the screen, you'll be able to put it in there. Even tools like Instagram, it is an image sharing website. Why are we not describing our images to our users and allow more people to go on there? The disabled community is massive on social media, and LinkedIn is no exception. Sadly, it's a little bit more difficult to get to the alternative text, but you can go to advanced settings and add it in there. Please, please, please start to add alternative text to your posts. It will make the world of difference for people. Exactly the same when it comes to hashtags. You know, just because we have a hashtag doesn't mean that it can be comprehended by everyone straight away. At the top, we have one where it is Monday Thoughts, or one word, or lowercase. And then down at the bottom, good reasons to dump someone, but in camel case. So every word has a capital letter. The one at the top is not accessible because that is all one word. It's going to be read out as one word to a screen reader user. Whereas the bottom example of camel case will actually be read out as single words because we have capitalized every word at the start. So even our hashtags need to be accessible as well. So little things that we can do, even on posters or anything like that, that has the hashtag read out to them, camel case it, make sure that we can actually have that read out to us as well. And things are exactly the same when it comes to emojis. They're getting used all the time in many different places. But on the screen that you see at the moment, there's a tweet done by the ADA, American Disability Association. And what they have done is they've added an emoji in between every word. But what this will be read out with is the clapping hands, ADA clapping hands is clapping hands, not clapping hands, throughout the whole thing. So that tweet done by an accessibility area is not accessible. So think about how you lay your tweets out, or any time you use emojis within this as well. Exactly the same for the one at the moment. Think about dark mode. It's not always going to be used by everyone, but I can't see that arrow right to the soon. So this is going to be read out. I'm going out soon with right with arrow above. Really fancy some fries, hamburger, eyes you later. Different context about what is actually being displayed on the screen. And also things like emojis when we've got the face. The face is going to be slightly different depending on the mood that we're trying to portray. But people with diminished vision or people that are blind may not get everything straight away, and it may be blurred. So we have to think about how that's going to work. When we think about a big tweet, we're going to have a lot of information going on here and a lot of problems. That's because it's got 72 grinning faces and then END violent. It's not reading out properly. It's not in camel case. So there's lots of things to think about from this point of view. There's lots of things that we need to think about, not just from digital within the work that we're producing, but the work that we're marketing and the work that we're showing off as well from a social media point of view. So thank you very much. Apologies for the issues with the subtitles. I hope this worked a lot better, the second part of this. Again, if we need anything, I'm more than happy to record this again for you. But does anyone have any questions? No, all looking okay. Oh, sorry, can't hear you, I'm afraid.
Oh, there we go. Cool. I was talking. Yeah, the microphone was on mute. There's too many mute buttons. Awesome. So guys, if you want to ask any questions, feel free to fire off into chat. That was an awesome talk. Thank you very much, James. Also, if you have already submitted a question on that form, I will sort of go through that list now. So please do, if you think of any questions or just want to get any sort of opinions from James, please do fire that off into chat now. While we're kind of waiting for any responses to kind of come through, James, just out of curiosity, is there, obviously your Hex has worked with loads and loads of clients and you've worked on loads of projects. Is there a particular favorite one? Have you had a passion project that you always look back on and think, oh, that was the one?
This is what's so lovely about the work that we do. Every job is different. There is no job that is the same. Even though we're building a website, everything's different. So we've worked with the NHS throughout this really tough period of time, and it was a very high pressure job, but we showed how a team can come together so quickly. And so as much as we had sleepless nights, it was lovely to see the team work together, you know, within that phase. We've also worked on some absolutely beautiful websites as well. So we've had some beautiful designs by the team, and it's become a challenge to do. So I love every site that we've done, and I love every different challenger. You can't just put one down to be, you know, the one.
That's a very diplomatic answer. That's, yes. No, that's awesome. Thank you. It's kind of a more vague question, but obviously UI and UX and accessibility and sort of what Hex does, it's not very sort of commonly seen anywhere else. What kind of led you into this? What made you think, yes, that's what we want to do, that's what we want to pursue?
It's witnessing a person using a site or a service that you've created, and they're struggling. They have to ask you for help, and they have to ask you for, you know, why have you done this? And, you know, in other ways, we talk about what our barriers are, and knowledge is a big barrier. As soon as we learned that we were doing things not right, I won't say wrong, but at the time we thought it was right, but we you know, we needed to improve. So we went back and we started to improve every single site that we did free of charge, just did it. That led us to do a lot more talks. That led us to do a lot more work in the accessibility sphere. We were extremely lucky to be part of the roundtable for the Government Digital Services, GDS, to actually talk about how we can make the EU law of digital accessibility into UK law. And the more that we spoke about this, the more that we did things, the more that we knew that we were doing the right thing. We were talking to more people to make sure that we are doing things better, and finding new ways to do things. And again, that the team have been superb in every single way. They've found new things, they've found new ways, we've tested things. We've made mistakes along the way, but that's the only way that we can learn and keep moving forward.
That's an absolutely awesome answer. Thank you. It kind of links into the next question that I have, because obviously you will have worked on so many projects and you've built up all of your sort of experience and portfolio along with your team. And I'm sure there are some aspiring designers and developers that are sort of tuning in now, as well as watching this maybe later on after Industry Week. If you could offer them, or offer even your younger self, one bit of advice, what would younger you appreciate having heard all those years ago?
It does lead in really well from the last answer. I do apologize if I'm going to repeat myself. It's don't be afraid to make mistakes. You're not going to be perfect. Ask for help, ask for this, ask for that. Don't just keep yourself in a corner. There are so many people out there in the community, be it with a disability or not, that are willing to help and willing to find new ways. So if you want to go on something like Twitter or more conferences like this, just ask the question. It doesn't have to be over the video. It can be a later on, or you can try and find a certain user group that would actually try and allow you to empathize with the issues that they may be having. So ask as many questions as possible. Don't suffer in silence. There's many ways to ask questions or to find out the information. The people out there in this world are fantastic. The community is superb. So, there's lots that we can do together.
Awesome. That's a really, really positive note to end everything on, I think. So yeah, brilliant. Thank you for that, James. Much appreciated. Really good presentation, and thank you for your time as well. Thank you for sharing those really valuable insights with us. It's really, really appreciated. I'm sure our students have enjoyed it. In terms of the student-wise, you are more than free to sort of leave the session. While those students are leaving, James, if you could just hold on for me. Once they've all gone, we can kind of wrap up on our end. But thank you, guys that have tuned in. Thank you for those that are watching on demand as well. Yeah, we'll catch up later on. Thank you, James.
Thank you very much, guys. Enjoy the rest of Industry Week.
No worries, guys. Thank you. And apologies about the subtitles. They did get fixed in the end. Slight technical hitch on our side. Or should be fixed for the duration of the on-demand version as well. So if you kind of want to watch the first half later, sort of next week, everything should be subtitled fully for you. So we've still got a couple people in Zoom. If you guys want to head off, you are more than happy to, unless you have any questions, in which case fire them into chat now. We're just that good, James, that they don't want to go. Say it's really interesting stuff. I only sort of recently started to properly look into UI and UX and accessibility and sort of that sort of design side of it. I'm coming at it from obviously a sort of more graphic design sort of perspective, but the development behind it, it's almost a completely different world, but it's also the same world. And it's that, yeah,
it's kind of like everyone's had these barriers for so long. I think it's just we're all now being more aware of it, and that's the big thing. It's awareness and making sure people are aware of what's going on.
Absolutely. Let's see if I can. Cool. I'm just kind of making sure everyone's gone before I go through all the questions. Not that we're saying anything bad, but it's always good to make sure we're all good. Awesome. Brill. So let me make sure that we are. Whoop. Brill. So this part is still recorded, just so you're aware, but it's just kind of any questions or sound bites that we might be able to use for sort of Confetti or marketing or sort of general industry week stuff. So are you more than happy to sort of answer these questions, or do you need to add up? Or perfect. No, so just firstly, have you got any advice for our students looking to get into the creative industries?
Yeah, I think you're in a brilliant part of the world. Like Nottingham is superb, and what's so nice is there is lots of choice. So try and kind of find somewhere that's looking to have a bit of support. So work experience is always great, just to get a taste for it. Just because that you think you're going to a certain area, you may have a slight change of where you want to go, but it gives you that real world example. But the one thing that really helped with me is having like a side project. So I think when I first did like going into development of web, I was doing like a recipe website. So I knew I wanted to do something, and I had that project so I could test out the things I'm learning. So, just because, it's something that may not ever see the light of day, keep plugging at it, give it another way of, getting your skills out there and getting testing in certain ways, really.
No, absolutely. I always love a good side hustle. It's always good. Obviously you've had experience with Confetti both this year and last year. Have you actually been in the building? Have you seen our resources?
Yeah, it looks amazing. It's
awesome. Yeah. So could you potentially give us or tell us why Confetti might be a great place to learn about technology in the creative industry?
So Confetti is fantastic, and to be honest, the money that has been spent in the no, let me start that again. Sorry.
All right.
So I'm trying to think of a better word, and I don't want to use money, but it's there we go. Yeah. So Confetti is brilliant. The amount of kind of resource that has been invested into the area, and actually not just saying getting a few extra computers. You've invested so much time, effort, and money within the students, allowing them to have a safe area to actually be as creative as possible. I've been very lucky to travel around and actually see other kind of areas that have tried. I've not seen anything as good as what's been built there. So it's great to have such a vibrant city and allow that information and that creativity to be pushed throughout all of it rather than just hidden away. It's something that, will make Nottingham stronger, and it'll be something that makes the students that attend much, much stronger as well.
Awesome. Perfect. Another fantastic answer. So that kind of, answers kind of the next question, which is sort of how good the facilities are at Confetti. If you say that you've been sort of around to different sort of colleges and areas and sort of in comparison, how would you say we compare in terms of facilities and resources and stuff like that?
It's clean. That's the best one. I've seen some terrible ones. No, it's the technology, the infrastructure. So I went there and did a presentation, and it was a brilliant mini studio. It was phenomenal. And, you feel as a presenter, your head gets a bit bigger, your ego goes, because you're on such great facilities. You don't see that everywhere. We are very lucky in where we are and what we have. But we're not just we're just staying on one skill. You've got a very broad horizon, which obviously you need a lot of technology for, and it's all there. It's all available. And if it's not, you find a way to get it in, borrow it, use either people like the BBC who are around the corner. You've got Knots TV that have got all of this as well that you're heavily in with. There's lots of things that we can work together on to get the end goal.
Absolutely. That's perfect. And if you were to have sort of a final word or any sort of message for our students that are currently studying at Confetti, what would you say? What would be your byline?
Keep going, keep talking, and talk to as many people as possible. Empathize with them, find out their ways of working, ways of using certain things, and bring that into everything that you can do.
Excellent. Perfect. Thank you for that, James. It's really, really appreciated. An amazing talk, and I'm really thankful that you've managed to sort of spend the time with us.
No worries at all. Brilliant to be with you.
No, thank you.